Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Deja. I'm an astrologer, and in this video, I'm going to be chatting about the Sagittarius eclipse. It's a lunar eclipse? Yeah. The Sagittarius lunar eclipse that we're getting tomorrow, Wednesday, May 26th. So, this is round two. We had our first Sag eclipse. We actually had a really slight mini one back in June of 2020, but we had our first real one December 14th, 2020. So this is phase two of the Gemini Sag eclipse thing we're getting right now. But yeah, so the moon is at 5 degrees of Sag and the sun is at 5 degrees of Gemini. So technically this would be a full moon because they're directly across from each other, but they're kind of crossing over each other's paths, and that doesn't really happen that often. So the moon has an orbit around the earth that's at like a 5-degree incline. So the moon's not directly going around the earth like this, it's more so going like this. When that happens, sometimes we have full moons that are and the moon is up here and the sun's down here. And sometimes we have full moons when the moon is down here and the sun is right here. So it can change and it can vary. But this one is special because of the fact that the sun and the moon are going to be directly in front of each other. And the earth is at the center of it. So the moon is being eclipsed, essentially. How we know this path, where they're going to intersect, where they're crossing each other, is the nodes. And I'm going to pull up the chart of this eclipse so you guys can see what is going on here and what the heck I'm talking about. Because the nodes have been transiting through Sag and Gemini since May of 2020. And the North Node is in short about prioritization, and the South Node is about release and decrease and letting go. We're going to dive into that a little bit more because I want to add more detail to this. So let's look at the chart so you can see what I'm chatting about. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the chart of the eclipse. It's at about 7:12 a.m. on May 26th on the East Coast. So adjust your time depending on where you are. We have the moon over here in Sagittarius at 5 degrees, and there's the South Node. That bowl or cup thing, that's the South Node. And the South Node is all about pouring out, the bowl cup analogy. It's about releasing, it's about letting go and turning down. In Western astrology, this is Ketu, and there's Rahu and Ketu. Rahu is the North Node, Ketu is the South Node. Rahu is always consuming and eating, and Ketu is always pooping, literally. And we talked about this in the Mercury retrograde horoscopes for people, because there's a lot happening this week, just generally. So anyway, yeah, so we're our Sagittarius house in our birth chart has been experiencing some component of releasing, some form of just letting go of things, and possibly even detaching, disconnecting, all of those release sort of words. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, over here, is the sun and the North Node. The North Node is the South Node, but upside down. And it really trips you up, because you'd think that this would be the South Node. No, this is the North Node. It's really annoying. But anyway, yeah, so there's the North Node and there's the sun. And then there's all these other planets in Gemini right now, like Venus and Mercury. Mercury's about to station retrograde. Yeah. Okay, so yes, this is where we're at. Here's the sun at 5 degrees, and there's a North Node at 10. Cool beans. There's a couple of other things about this chart that I want to point out that I feel are important. 1, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Where's Jupiter in the chart? Jupiter's up here in Pisces, in another mutable sign, making a square, essentially, to the nodes, making a square to this eclipse. That's important. Because of the square, Jupiter is at the bendings. We would call this the bendings. Jupiter's at a point where he can see both sides of the nodes. He can see where things are disappearing, and he can see where things are appearing. So the disappearing comes in with the south node, and the appearing comes in with the north node. That's where that like consumption and gaining more, and the south node is like just letting things go. So this is really important because Jupiter's at this point of confusion where he can like kind of understand and grapple with what you are consuming and how that is also impacting you on the other end, literally. And so with him being in this space of like responsibility over this eclipse, but understanding how this like weird fog, it's not really foggy, it's more so like eclipses are historically, the ancients considered eclipses to be bad omens. Like literally, this is eclipses, and eclipse tracking goes back like thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Because when my friend said to me, they were like, obviously like astrology has something to it, is meaningful, because these ancient people didn't have anything to do other than to look at the sky. They didn't have like TVs and screens and stuff like that. Like they literally could only look at the sky. But aside from that, like the sun would disappear. Like when something is being eclipsed, that means that like it's being overtaken, it's being overshadowed. And so in ancient and indigenous cultures, they were like, okay, there's something happening here. The sun is being consumed. Like, what's going on? That's a new moon. That's a solar eclipse. We're having a lunar eclipse. They're directly across from each other. So I'm pretty sure it's only gonna, I think the exact eclipse is passing over like the Atlantic Ocean. So, but I'm not 100% certain on that. But yeah, the moon is being eclipsed. So the moon would technically be out bright. But no moon. Moon's gone. So like indigenous cultures would be like, okay, wait a second. The moon just disappeared, or the sun just disappeared. What the heck just happened? And every time that would happen, every time the moon or the sun was eclipsed, something bad would happen. Literally. Like that is why like eclipses have created the hype that they have now in modern culture. Like one, it's like an actual, I mean, everything in astrology are actual astronomical phenomenons. Like Mercury retrogrades is an actual astronomical phenomenon. This is not something we're making up. Eclipses are not something we're making up. You know what I mean? But it's just important to maybe like keep note of the things that are happening in your life when these things are happening. When the sun disappears, let me stop saying that. When the moon disappears within this context of what we're getting tomorrow, just keep note of the things that are taking place in your life. That's all I'm saying here. But anyway, so just speaking about this Sagittarius lunar eclipse with the south node, I believe that we're going to be called to release and let go of certain emotional attachments. Our emotional attachments to our visions, to our personal quests or missions and explorations that we may have in our lives. These are all like Sagittarius things. We're kind of detaching from those, and we're prioritizing, and this is probably what's going to be the next part of the Gemini eclipse that we're getting on June 6th. We're deprioritizing our visions and prioritizing information. I really think that we're going to be called to let go of certain emotional attachments and certain just attachments in general. That's what we're doing. Things are disappearing. The south node is about like disappearing. So things are literally disappearing. But it's not going to be anything like new. If you can think back to what was going on December 14, this is just like chapter 2 of that story. What else are you letting go of? You know? Like, what else is no longer important to you? That's getting tossed out. for me and for all the other Aries risings out there, this is happening in our 9th house of long distance travel, of higher learning, like college and grad school, of my own personal meaning of life, of astrology, you know what I mean? Like all these things. And I feel like I have really been pouring out and purging my life philosophy and my meaning of life. Like, I feel like where I was at the beginning of 2020 compared to where I am now, relative to what life means to me, totally different, like completely different. Like, it's completely different. Even with undergrad, like, we had to leave. I literally just had to, like, we had to leave because of COVID. And then what happened? Like, then it just kind of disappeared. Undergrad literally disappeared, and that's so South Node going through the 9th house. It's so wild to me. It just like completely like dissipated. What else? I'm trying to think of other examples. Maybe if this is like, if you have Gemini rising, this would be happening in your 7th house of other people. People are just disappearing. Like, maybe you're just losing touch with people, or you're just not talking to them, or you just haven't seen them. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe you've just been giving a lot to your partnerships without really feeling satisfied, you know, or just like releasing it all within the context of partnerships. Maybe. Or I'm trying to think. Let me think of somebody else. Sagittarius rising. This is happening in your 1st house. So maybe you're just like really letting go of like different components of yourself, different identities, and being like, nope, or maybe even you're just deprioritizing yourself and prioritizing other people. You know what I mean? It really could simply be that. Deprioritizing how you view yourself in order to prioritize the other people in your life who are important to you, in order to make sure that they're okay, in order to make sure that they're supported, and that you know what's going on in their life. You know? And we go through these phases in our lives. It's not wild. It's not crazy. It's just life. So, yeah, I think that's all I have. I hope everyone has a fabulous Sag eclipse. Rest. I'm staying indoors and I'm not doing anything. It's a really great time to meditate and like really spiritualize your life and get kind of woo-woo-y because things are just going to disappear. So it would be best to just kind of cool out for the next couple of days, because I feel like this eclipse energy is going to be like potent starting tonight at about 10:30 p.m. because that's when the moon ingresses into Sag, and then carrying it out until about Thursday, because the moon will stay in a sign for a couple of days. So yeah, I'm chilling out, I'm vibing, not really trying to do too much. Because then also Mercury is stationing retrograde, and that's not fun. But whatever. Okay. Hope everyone has a fabulous eclipse. Take a bath. You know? Baths are great. Detox your body in whatever way. Maybe you need to work out. You need to release energy. That would be fun. Yeah. But it's okay. It's really not that big of a deal. Like, we get eclipses all the time. Like, people always sensationalize things. But it's nothing to be too worried about. Although things are getting a little hectic, so I don't know. I'm a Sag myself. I have Sag placements. So, and the last Sag eclipse was conjunct my Mercury. So that was interesting, but it wasn't bad. You know what I mean? It was cool. It was neat, but it wasn't bad. I don't think this is, I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Have a good day. Bye. Let me know how the eclipse is for you later, you know? Just come back and leave a comment or something. Or let me know if you're excited or if you're worried. I don't know. Okay, bye.